Yeah. Go. Yes. And welcome back to Festival Rap Notes. This is Mike and Vanessa. And we're talking about festivals. We're fresh off of a Fyre Festival doc binge. We just watched both Fyre Fraud, which is on Hulu, and then Fyre, the Greatest Party That Never Was.
Yes. Yeah, roughly.
I bet I got 70% of that right.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've got some hot takes. We got some notes. I know these films are a couple years in the can, but we didn't have a podcast back then.
That's right. I have questions and I have updates for you. And I thought it was so interesting how different those two approaches were to the festival. Because one, the Netflix one, is really the approach that we're more interested in, which is more on the logistics, the actual carrying out of the festival, seeing the team that was trying to build it up and make it happen, and watching it crash and burn, and the experience of that. Whereas like the Hulu one was really more behind the McFarlane story in terms of his real background, the whole thing around social media, kind of a more bird's eye view instead of chronological.
Yeah, it's not as much what happened. It's more how did this happen?
Right.
And they kind of track his path and I guess his rise to prominence in his little corner of the digital market. And they don't touch as much on like what happens as far as logistics and what went wrong. And I appreciated both angles.
Me too. And I thought the Hulu bird's eye view gave hilarious references and metaphors that they're getting into the early history of Seth MacFarlane, the Magnesis fake millennial credit card exclusive club, and comparing it to Entertainment 720.
That was funny. That was funny, doing that Parks and Rec Tom Haverford parallel was pretty spot on. Just how it's a facade. It's people acting like they're doing business, but the business that they're doing is it's too ethereal. There's nothing really tangible there. I kind of appreciated that Fyre Fraud gave Billy McFarlane a chance to at least speak for himself. As difficult as it is to listen to that guy.
It was hard.
Yeah.
It was so hard to listen to him. Like, one of my questions here is, are you so tired of hearing and seeing Billy McFarlane's face? Because I am. I was a little too much Billy.
I struggled with this. He couldn't make, and this is far more in the Netflix Fyre, he could not maintain eye contact during any pitch of any one of his ideas. So he would avert, like, I wasn't looking for this. It just was happening so frequently I couldn't not see it. But he looks away while he's telling you his idea and then looks back for the reaction. Like, did my sales pitch land? Yeah, he's a true blue salesman. Watching this was one of the most ambitious first festivals I've ever seen, organized by a couple of drunk idiots who had far too much confidence in themselves and what they could do. But truly, one of the I heard it thrown out a couple of times when people were saying, like, well, I mean, this is feasible. This could be done. Like, with the right, like, on paper, we could do this with the right time and resources. But the time and resources were never there. So this was always going to be a facade.
They were trying to skip steps.
Yeah.
They were trying to put on a festival on a scale where they really needed to have way more capital, and he was was clear that he was raising money to cover costs as they were happening, and it was kind of just fly by the seat of your pants kind of situation.
I was thinking, I guess, to piggyback on that, about the how ambitious this was as a dream, as far as like a first festival.
Give the Cliff's Notes version of what he was trying to do.
Well, so what he's trying to do is this like multi-tier experience that is a luxury event with accommodations. So it's not just you're providing experience for these people and entertainment. The accommodations might be one of the most challenging of the logistics. And God, yeah, it's just such a tiny little pot of people working on this thing. But this being such a grand vision, this ambitious event that he's trying to plan and sell to people, it could be done with some dream team of like event specialists. Like you'd have to get the best of the best, assemble them, and you've got these best of the best 12 to 20 people in a room together who could do this, and they're all coming from these different worlds. This could happen. This could be this spectacular once like best event in 10 years kind of event, but you'd need the time and the resources. But really, it was so many people who were inept at doing this and making this happen. I just I want to believe that this could have taken place and it could have happened in the right circumstances and with the right people around. I'm certainly not saying that I would be one of those people, but God, if you give me an opportunity to be involved in a disaster and a shit show like this, I don't know if I could turn it down.
I have theories on if having more time would have made this work in actuality, but we'll get to that. I have a question.
Go for it.
To start us off with, which I was asking myself as we watched these documentaries, because this was back in 2017. It's a while ago. It's pre-COVID, so it feels like a long time ago.
Sure.
And I was trying to ask myself, and now I'm asking you, do you recall hearing about Fyre Festival before it became a disaster?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I was a number of months, so inside of a year removed from film festivals. So I'd stepped away, I don't know, maybe 6-10 months prior to hearing about this. But my first thought was like, God, I wonder if I have anybody in the network who's going to work this.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. I wonder if there's anybody who's actually involved in this and is a part of the logistics. And the marketing, what's kind of funny, the angle that we're coming from it, which is from the events world and from that industry. Ours was more specifically, film festivals, but you did a lot of work in music festivals as well. I did. So you've dipped your toes in many of those ponds. Is that how we
lakes?
So they were lakes. Well, to continue with that metaphor, when you saw the advertising for this festival, that looked much more like a lake or a sea than it did a pond. And it was something that when you saw the marketing and the money that was behind the marketing campaign, because you're like, wow, this is well produced. This has got to be a big festival. I bet there's some good jobs out there. Like that's how we look at these festivals that were coming up. It wasn't, is this something that I could attend? It was, could I get a good job?
Absolutely.
Working for this.
I don't actually remember, even I was still working festivals at this time, and I was still in the zone of trying to get festival gigs. And if this was on my radar at all, I'm sure it would have been thinking along the lines of, well, I wonder if I know anyone working it, or if this is somewhere I want to get a job.
Yeah.
But I don't remember hearing about, I just, it's a very vague recollection of hearing about just this crazy festival that costs so much money. And in my head, I thought, well, why would anyone pay that much for a festival when we have things like Coachella and Bonnaroo where you can pay a fraction of that and still have a great time?
So true. Were you ever tied to or like had some bridge to an opportunity that was like this, some high level or like a high class event where it was like, oh, I could potentially work this thing that is really glamorous? Like I'm thinking like Cannes Film Festival.
Yeah.
Like I never had a direct bridge.
Only a vague, loose thread.
Cannes.
I had a couple coworkers who had worked Cannes. I'm not even sure. And it sounded like the positions that were available to Americans were still not quite worth it. Like you're kind of sleeping in a giant room filled with bunk beds as a staff member.
Okay.
And not getting paid enough. So I didn't entertain it very much. I wanted to work abroad for festivals. But I still have my dignity.
Yeah. If this opportunity had I guess, come my way in my mid-20s, maybe even late 20s, I think there's a good chance I would have jumped at it. So we've watched these docs, at least the Netflix doc, a couple of times. We certainly saw it when it came out. Any kind of thing that involves our previous life, our previous occupation, it's intriguing. And I was watching it, I felt like with through a slightly different lens this time, where I felt like I was being a little bit more empathetic in that, because I was judging people hard when I first saw this, and I was seeing that Billy was the only one who was culpable for his actions. That he was he's the reason this disaster happened, absolutely. But then he became the scapegoat for all of his enablers. And I really judged them for that harshly. I just looked at everybody like, oh, so you're not responsible for anything you did. Like it's all Billy's fault. Like, oh, you were just doing your job. Okay. I was a little bit more empathetic on this round, because I was thinking of myself in my young 20s, mid 20s, working events. I loved just being involved in the spectacle and the chaos and just the circus that it was. I liked the chaos and I embraced it. And I don't know if you gave me an opportunity whether I would have gotten off that ride.
It's hard to say.
Or if I just would have, I'm going down with the ship. I think I would have seen what was happening, and I would have made a choice to continue to do it.
Well, because
if I'm being honest about not where I am now, but like back then, when we were doing it.
Oh, I have so much empathy for the team that was roped into doing this festival. Because if you're actually on site on this island in the Bahamas, you have strings to pull on for hope. There are these tents being set up, and sure, they're not villas or yachts, but they're nice tents, and there's just this like hope, this maybe we can pull it off. Maybe it can happen. And all of those, I love the production shots in the Netflix documentary of them putting up the bike barricades. Yeah. And, just doing all those.
Setting up the stage, the cable ramps.
It's a process I love. It's such a powerful process of being a part of the build.
They got a stage up. Yeah. Which is impressive.
Yeah, they did.
But no one ever played on that stage.
No, they all canceled before it actually happened. Like
that is incredible.
As it happened.
I really do. I believe that they could have gotten ahead of this as far as if you manage expectations, this wouldn't be the disaster that it is, because only the people who have seen the photos and then make the choice to still get on the plane would actually go to that concert.
Yeah.
And I wonder if, I don't know, so many times they should have pulled the ripcord.
Absolutely. And they were told by their team to do it.
I don't think I've ever met a Billy. Like I'm not sure if I've known a Billy along the way. I've known some real douchebag asshole salesman types. But I don't know if I've known a Billy. I feel like I've known 100 Grants. His second in command.
Oh, yeah.
That little dude who was a yes man for the boss. He was in a place of power and he had no idea what he was doing.
No.
I feel like I've known maybe not 100, but a couple dozen and worked with them. I really, I feel like that is a person who's drawn to this chaos that I'm talking about and describing. And they're somebody who feels like they can, like, hey, I'm smart enough, I can fix all these problems. There's a hubris that kind of runs through that whole leadership with the Fyre Festival. We haven't even gotten into Ja Rule's involvement. I
got a whole update for you on
yes.
Ja Rule.
Oh, I'm excited for that.
We'll get to that.
But these are all guys who feel like they can solve any issue that comes up. I'm the smartest guy in the room. And that footage is so damning when they're trying to set up a shot with the Instagram models and during the initial media push, like it's that first shoot that they do, and he's trying to set up a shot, and he's like, we're trying to sell a lifestyle to losers, like we're trying to sell this dream that's just out of reach to the common person. And like I think that's truly how it seems to be. Like that's who Billy is.
Well, and that's what I did appreciate about the Hulu documentary is that it was trying to get more at who Billy really is. And I had such a hard time with that story they told, that I think he told part of it too, about him being a little kid in elementary school, like second, first grade. Oh
yeah.
And he has a crush, and her crayon
oh yes
breaks, and he offers to fix it for her for $1.
Yep.
And then he takes it into the school system and like hacks the like very rudimentary at the time tech system so that he can broadcast over the school system that he can fix your crayons, bring it to Billy. And that to me just showed that he's always been a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like
that was his first hack. That was his first little branding hack.
Yeah.
And she's like, we just knew he had a knack for business.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah. Knack.
Yeah, shady business. Well, and then there was this. I didn't write it down because it was so unremarkable. But it was his list of like things that he did as a child. Like, oh my god, he was so active as a little boy, just like all little boys. And he was. Oh, you mean he wasn't lethargic? And I was like, yeah, that's not what kids are. And then like, and you wouldn't believe how fast he completed his math times tables, and he was scuba diving by 10. I was like, I don't know. Are any of these things impressive?
No, not really. I was surprised. I didn't know about the whole angle of the oil tycoon investment.
Oh yeah,
Aubrey.
Yes,
that Aubrey character, and that he was a big investor that like got him on the map with his Magnesis company. Like gave him $500,000 for that. The
exclusive credit card.
Yes. It's just kind of a fake club, fake/real, but whatever. But then in the doc, they kind of just blow past the death of Aubrey one day after he himself had gotten indicted for shady oil business.
Is it suicide? It looked like he drove his car.
Certainly looked like it.
Going 90 straight into a wall.
Into a bridge.
Yeah.
Wasn't that a bridge?
Yeah. It was like one of those really narrow, like, and then it was just concrete on the other side, and he'd hit, boom, the corner.
now I want to see.
I didn't know anything
I now
about
want
that.
to see a true crime documentary about Aubrey.
Yeah.
I want to know more about that.
What's interesting is the Fyre fraud, which I think I know I've seen the Fyre on Netflix multiple times, but the Fyre fraud on Hulu, I don't think I had seen that before. So this whole angle of the billionaire investor early on, who, I mean, he should be a huge red flag in Billy's life. This investor that kind of leads him into a successful road, and he's almost like a mentor and a father figure to him. He dies in this horribly violent way right after being disgraced in his business. And then Billy goes on and does Fyre Festival. There's not a lot of redeeming moments in there's no redemption for Billy.
There's no surprise.
Yeah.
None of this is surprising.
Is it surprising that Billy is still alive?
It's surprising that he'll get out of prison in a couple of years.
Okay.
And be unleashed on the world again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think he's kind of a dog with tricks that have been played out.
Mm-hmm.
Like he really capitalized on what social media was at the time in a way that no one had, mm-hmm. but also in a way that isn't going to work again. And the update I have for you is that while Billy's been in prison and he's got a 6-year sentence, last year, around October, he got sent into solitary confinement after his phone calls from prison led to a podcast series called Dumpster Fire. And I have
Is it his podcast?
It is I haven't actually looked too far into it. It seems to be like a 4 or 5 part episode series on the festival and what happened. And here's a hand-picked review I'd like to read.
Okay.
Ironically, a podcast about an event that didn't live up to the billing has done the exact same thing. Anyone who watched either a documentary or the swindled single episode will find nothing in here of interest. Want to hear the founder live for 4 straight episodes? This podcast has you covered.
Wow. And he was doing this from prison.
Mm-hmm.
Via his allotted time on the telephone.
Yes. I think it was meant to be a PR move to apologize, and some of the proceeds are supposed to go back to the people that he swindled.
Yeah.
But no one buys it.
So here's why I like in Fyre Fraud that they let him speak for himself. Because it doesn't feel like a straight smear. Like that you get to hear this jerk off talk about, and still, I mean, he's trying to sell himself on his own lie. I think every time he's talking, I mean, now he's doing it from a different angle. Like he's there's remorse. I thought one of the greatest clipped moments in, I think, Netflix Fyre is he's walking to court and one of the reporters says, "Are you sorry?" That's like, I feel like he has gone in with his PR team, which is probably all up here for him. Like he's the smartest guy in the room. He's his entire PR team, marketing team, business strategy. He's everything. He's thought, I need to be sorry for this. So that's how he approached being an actual talking head on the fraud doc. Like, I think he had to take that new angle of, well, I got to be sorry, or I'm not sympathetic in the least. But I think it's a calculated move. Mm-hmm. I want him to be exposed as like the prince of the D-bags by speaking for himself and trying to defend himself. Even though it was incredibly painful. Just from an entertainment standpoint. I think the Fyre documentary, The Greatest Party, the blah blah blah, that one is far more entertaining. The Fyre fraud is painful to watch, but it's because it's a less biased version. Like you get the guy defending himself in a little bit. It's far more. I mean, he barely has a leg to stand on, so let him stand on that broken leg.
Yes.
And I don't know. I kind of appreciate that, even though I'm just like I don't want to hear it anymore. Like if I can take a step back, I'm like, well, at least they let him talk.
Wow. When I thought about us having a podcast, it never came down to debating the merits of two documentaries.
Yeah.
We're not documentary people.
Not really.
Not necessarily.
No. Does Forensic Files count as documentary?
Let's do a whole series on Forensic Files.
I got a bad habit when it comes to Forensic Files.
Bad nap habit.
Yeah, why is that show so easy to sleep to?
I don't know.
My dreams are full of murder and revenge and scorned lovers.
And evidence.
Yeah. So, all right, let's keep. We've got good notes on this.
I want to hear some of your notes.
Okay. Early on, do you remember Keith? He is the pilot / logistics manager.
Yes.
He's the crazy. I'm mad now. Like, is he? Where was he from? Was he he's Scandinavian, but he's.
I don't remember.
I can't remember either. Is he like?
We'll put it in the show notes.
Is he from Holland?
It'll be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, Keith. I know you're a big fan of the show. He's the only voice of reason early on.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually don't have who's the yogi? Who's the yogi with the ponytail that we felt like, oh my god, I know this guy from the festival, and he might be wearing two mandalas. Well, one under his shirt, one over his shirt.
We're gonna call him Yogi.
Let's do Yogi.
And if you've watched the Netflix Fyre doc, you'll know exactly who we're talking about.
He's a really cute yogi with a ponytail.
Yeah.
And a beard.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a ponytail or a man bun? What's the difference?
What's the diff?
Those two guys were kind of the only ones who seemed to be like sounding an alarm.
Mm-hmm.
And like they saw red flags early on. Mm-hmm. They admit to, other than Keith, let me only speak for Yogi Ponytail. He has a name. And this is disrespectful. He was saying, okay, I see major problems in the plan and how we're going about doing this. But I am in such a can-do attitude environment. Like, we are solution-oriented. We are... I fucking love that too. That we're solution oriented. Well, solutions are the answers to problems. What it really means is you are a problem riddled entity. Like it means that your event has a lot of problems if it's all about solutions. But he was kind of drunk on the idea of Fyre Festival.
Yeah.
And I don't fault him for that.
Can't blame him at all.
Yeah. Even if what he's seeing, he had great insight on what was going on. Even if that insight is hindsight, I guess those are different things. He saw problems. I think it was Keith, the pilot / logistics manager. He was seeing problems, and he was basically saying, like, I'm not going to shut up about this. I will be the squeaky wheel, which is the most important thing to do and to be during this phase of the problem. If you see major problems happening, it is your job to be the squeaky wheel. And when he says, hey, we're not about I'm forgetting the quote exactly. Like, we're not about like negativity or whatever it was. He's like, if you're not about solutions, you should leave. That's somebody who doesn't know anything about problem solving. That's somebody who doesn't know anything about leadership. That's Billy McFarland. That's living the delusion, because if you are not addressing a problem, you will never find that solution. And if you're in a department like logistics, that's all you deal with is problems and solutions. Like, you become an expert at solutions. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think what Keith was saying was like, I'm giving you problems. There are no solutions. Not to accomplish the goal that you have put out. Not to give the vision of what Fyre was. I'm kind of sad sitting here talking about this, and Fyre wasn't a success.
Yeah.
Like, as much as this is a juicy story, and this is like, it's fun to look at. I mean, it was fun for a lot of people because they got to be like, oh, rich people problems. They got to look at this and tweet at it, and they got to see it from a distance. Which I don't judge that.
No, I felt the same way.
I don't condone it, but
I felt the same way.
Yeah, it's like, whew.
But I can feel two ways
Play
about it.
stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Yeah. I can hate the rich millennials who were falling for this and getting, and laughing at them getting jerked around by this festival. But at the same time, I have so much sympathy and empathy for the festival workers who were committed to the project and who knew it probably wouldn't work, but had bought into the delusion that they could make it work and also needed the paycheck, and then had to actually see it crash around them and deal with the fallout. I feel terrible for those. Yeah. For those people. And
70% of their wages were being dangled in front of them for the completion of a festival.
It's terrible.
Yeah, I think that's horrible. People I feel the worst for would be the islanders, those who lived there and saw this as a godsend to their industry. Mm-hmm. And they had a contract for 5 years. That if this first one was a success, that they would have this income for 5 years. And so they truly put their heart and soul into this.
They did.
And it was a disaster.
And it leads me to my next cheeky question, which is why is 6 months not enough to plan a music festival like this?
Yeah. 6 weeks?
6 months, I think, is when they actually started thinking about it. And that's when they started the contract with, what is it? Fuck Jerry?
Jerry is was the
promotion team.
Yeah, marketing team.
And then they went and shot the promotion at the island that was originally the one, like the Pablo Escobar's island was the one they were planning to buy. But that's not where they actually ended up.
Yeah. When you use air quotes and they bought it for $10 million.
Yeah.
But it was like $1 million down with the agreement that it would.
There were a lot of agreements.
None of that money ever went through. Or
part of the agreement was that they couldn't advertise it being Pablo Escobar's former island, and then they did exactly that. So the contract fell through. Yeah. And then they had to find another place.
It was void immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, they broke the contract immediately. And so Fuck Jerry is it's a media company that was primarily, like, they were very popular for meme creation. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. What was the question?
Why is 6 months not enough time?
Well, because it's the first time. That would be my quick answer.
It's a good answer.
I think 6 months is plenty of time with a well-established... Actually, not plenty of time. It is the precise amount of time with a well-established multi-location, which it didn't end up being, but that was the plan, was you were going to have yacht parties, you were going to have island parties, you were going to have private events, you were going to have main stages, you were going to have private stages. That seems to be what the plan was. Okay, you've got multiple locations for your event. That's doable. Do you have established housing? Has this been done before? Has all this been tested before?
Are all these relationships in place?
They are in place? Great. Yeah, 6 months. That's so doable. Like, I think if this had been running for a couple of years, and that's why I think if you wanted to do this in a year, you'd have to bring in the best of the best as far as logistic, like, events planning, as far as the best from Coachella, the best from name a festival, Bonnaroo,
Burning Man.
I know, thanks. Bonnaroo, Pretty Lights. I mean, that's a band. No, Electric Forest, is that the one you worked? I'm a film festival guy. I'm not a music festival guy, so I don't know the music festivals. I've only done small music events. I know the logistics even going into a small concert series that takes place over the course of 8 weeks, and you put on a show once a week. That's incredibly labor intensive, and it takes so many people.
I bet they had the same amount of people working on Fyre Festival as just like one weekend of the festival you're describing.
Of Twilight
it
concert
really sounded
series
like
in Salt Lake City.
Yeah. They did not have
Shout
enough
out
people.
to Twilight and the Salt Lake City Arts Council. Loved working for that festival, but it took a village to put that on every single week. And I can't believe that they. So you say we took different notes on this. You wrote down 6 months, and I wrote down 6 weeks, because they ended up getting their secondary location after losing the Escobar Island. What was it called? What K was it?
I don't remember.
It looked beautiful. Fire with a Y. And it, yeah. With a Y, you idiots. They lost that. They went to the main island, which had the most infrastructure. Smart.
SMRT.
Yes. I am so smart. And they had 6 weeks to build this festival. I don't think people really appreciate how much waste that a gathering of people can generate.
Ugh, not unless you're in our industry.
To do the deserted island thing, that's ridiculous. Like, even if you and 10 of your closest friends went to said island for 10 days, the amount of waste that you 10 people would generate would be destructive to the environment.
Absolutely. And what I found interesting through this whole process of learning about this festival, it doesn't look like they involved anyone from Burning Man.
No.
Because any one organizer from Burning Man would have, I think, called the kibosh on this a lot sooner, because they know more than anyone about the zero waste.
Oh. Why would you hold a festival in the desert? Why would you do it? Because rain is so fucking destructive. When they hit, they were the culmination of this, and they were still feeling like, when they're talking about people are coming, we know that they are on the plane.
Yeah.
They're going to be on the boat next. Then they're going to be on another plane. They're going to be here soon. And then it rained.
It rained. It rained so hard, and it reminded me. It reminded me of a festival, a music festival I'd worked on. It was the last year that the Tomorrow World Music Festival was held in the United States.
Okay.
It was the third year being held in the United States, and it was outside of Atlanta on a property that was just this big ranch, beautiful property, lots of trees. Just gorgeous. And I was there as the whole thing's being built, and it's this beautiful grounds of production and stages and really the most impressive production design I'd ever seen. And it all gets boated over from Europe because this is a European EDM festival from Belgium.
Okay.
And then it started raining on the first day. And by the end of the first day, maybe the first day, second day, there was a night where everyone got rained in, essentially. The whole festival became a mud pit, and it was deemed an act of God in terms of the organization's lack of ability to solve problems for the festival goers. Like there were festival goers who were trapped because they were parked like 30-minute shuttle ride from their cars. Or the cars were parked 30 minutes from the festival grounds, and so they were shuttled in, and then the buses that were meant to shuttle them back at the end of the night were getting stuck in the mud. Mm-hmm. And so there were hundreds of festival goers who were stuck in these forests without any camping equipment because they thought they would drive home that night, and they just ended up sleeping on the ground, and it was this big deal. But at least they were only 30 minutes from civilization. This is in the Bahamas.
Yeah.
And it's a similar act of God situation that it hurts so bad knowing that they had that rain that first morning, and that they were the what they actually did have done and worked so hard to accomplish was drenched. Just drenched.
It's painful.
So painful.
And I think anybody who has worked a large event it's so big that it can't be held inside a building. And I'm not talking to the people who have attended that. I'm talking to the people who have worked an event that is so big that it spills out into nature, into the open spaces, into the fields. We have so many stages. It's open air. This is okay. There's plenty of people who have worked events. They can all stay inside a building.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if you worked a rodeo, it's like that's the biggest event that can like stay inside the building. Mm-hmm. Everything else, it gets bigger and bigger, and you've got just people outside. When you have weather, and when that occurs, you just don't even know how much harder work gets or how helpless you become. So that act of God is very real. Like working festivals and working in the winter in Park City for the Sundance Film Festival, we're worried about outside, and we have to manage outside. But for the most part, everything happens indoors. Mm-hmm. Like we need to get people indoors the best way possible. What do we do that? How do we do that? Okay, well, we got to plow the lot. Depending on how much it's snowing, we got to plow it every hour, every half hour, every 3 hours, whatever it may be. Well, they can't stand in the cold. Okay, we build a tent. Okay, now they stand in line. We got heat lamps. That's great. We're keeping them warm. It's not comfortable. We'll get them inside. With this, there's no getting people inside. There's no getting your equipment inside. There's no or there's limited levels of that. And when you're working, I'm thinking back to many experiences of working in the rain where there was dangers of we're thinking about, are we going to get electrocuted? Because we've got cables running right now, and we are walking through puddles of water. Is this how it goes down? It was scary.
Yeah.
And we were kids and we were idiots, and that's the only reason this worked. But when it rains, it's a different story. Yes, that's why you have your concert in the desert. Because it doesn't, you don't have that variable.
Mm-hmm.
I see that now.
I see it now too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How's Ja Rule doing?
I'd love to tell you how Ja Rule's doing before we get into anything more bleak. So on an up and up, Ja Rule graduated from Harvard
From
Business
high school? Oh, sorry.
From Harvard.
I'm sorry. I should let you talk. I won't guess anymore.
From Harvard Business School.
Fuck yeah.
He got
I heard that's a good business school.
Online certificate from their business school, which is a certain amount of weeks, certain amount of classes, but it only costs like over $1,000. So it's very affordable.
Wow. Thanks, Harvard.
He was cleared by a judge in 2019 of any legal wrongdoing from the Fyre Festival. And he is recently selling an NFT of the painting of a Fyre Festival logo. And I believe also the tweet of the cheese sandwich in the styrofoam container.
What?
So that also means he's part owner of a company that's doing business in NFTs called Flipkick. And he made $122,000 on that Fyre logo painting as an NFT. And for anyone who's not up to speed, NFT is non-fungible token, I believe.
Thank you. I was not up to speed.
It's cryptocurrency's dirty cousin.
Okay.
And it's taking the art world by storm. And it's essentially a digital artwork that's using the same blockchain technology so that you can only have one of them.
Yeah.
It's you have it in one place. It's almost physical for being digital. Mm-hmm. And yeah, he's still going at it. He's still working the business angle. He's still trying to make a lot of money because he's also facing a $3 million lawsuit over tax debt.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I don't like that.
Well, that's the update.
I don't like that.
That's
one
the
bit.
update on Ja Rule.
Let me tell you why I love Ja Rule. Not only does he laugh at his own jokes in the most creepy possible way, he's got that way where, like, he says a joke that you can tell he has said this phrase at least 10 times. Like, he has heard himself say this in mixed company, mm-hmm. and then he just gives the It's the most fake bullshit. Like, I don't know what he's trying to or how he's trying to punctuate this joke. That's dead, dude. You can't keep telling it. Leave it. And he's still trying to profit off of this. He looks so bad in these docs. Like, Billy at least is like hustling and he's like a go-getter. Mm-hmm. I feel like without Ja Rule's influence, like how terrible this guy is at organization.
Yeah.
I think Billy might actually have been more successful. I'm not saying that Fyre Fest would have done anything but be a disaster, but I feel like Billy could have still been fucked up and wasted, and I think he would have done better than if he had been hanging out with Ja Rule.
Yeah, Ja Rule is not a good influence. He was not. I think he added fuel to the fire. Fire with a Y.
We're spelling with an I from now on. This household is F-I-R-E, family. I don't know what Ja brought to it other than celebrity. Like, I mean, of course, that's the only thing he brought to it. But to tie him into being the co-founder, it was all marketing, clearly. I'm not saying anything that's not obvious, but I'm fascinated with his involvement and how misdirected it was. Or, I mean, I think that's clearly stated throughout the documentaries. Direction was the thing that they were utterly lacking. That and festival insurance.
Yes.
Could you believe it when they said that, when they dropped that?
Yeah, cancellation is not an option.
We have no festival insurance. How did you pass this with any of your investors? How did this happen?
Well, it became clear in the documentary that it was happening because he was hiding things from his investors, that he was actively manipulating his team to control the message that was being sent to investors.
Well, that's a good point, is that, I mean, fraud is the highlight to this, is that people were siloed perfectly in order for this fraud to take place.
Yes, and he was intimidating people just by his energy and his belief in what he was doing. He had people so on board, a lot like that Theranos chick.
Yes, I saw
a lot of similar
Holmes
vibes with this, where she controlled the message. She was controlling who it got to in such a complete way that she was able to get further with it. And I think that's what happened with Billy, is he controlled it. And if he had had a bigger team, if he had not controlled it so much, it would have either not happened because people would have pulled the plug, or maybe it would have actually happened better because he would have had a bigger team.
If the two of them, meaning Elizabeth Holmes and Billy McFarland, have a baby, do you think that baby will be better at business?
I think
or maybe more honest?
Oh, we should keep an eye on that baby. It's dangerous. Dangerous baby.
I like the term more honest because it has moron in it.
I do want to go back to an essential piece of festival life and festival reality.
Yes.
That's highlighted when the Fyre Festival goers who have paid thousands of dollars and they're wannabe influencers themselves, and they're excited about this lifestyle and this dream, and they've been drawn to the flame of this candle, and they show up at the island, and we're seeing the footage. We see great footage of them on the bus and then standing in line to in that tent area at the house and everything. And it's like, well, this is the reality of festivals that even people with a lot of money are not able to avoid right now, which is that festivals mean you're standing in line.
Yeah.
That's what a festival is.
Yeah.
You are standing in line somewhere at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe multiple times.
Queue?
Are you ready to queue up? Are you ready to get your cue card?
Yeah.
There are festival tactics to make it seem a little bit more fun and a little bit more fair. But at the end of the day, you're always standing
We were
in line.
standing in line for hours. Felt like eternity. We didn't know what we were standing in line for. Have you ever been to a festival?
Yeah. That's why
I'm pretty sure that's what most of your experience will be.
That's why it was more fun to work a festival than to actually go to a festival. I would so much rather be in charge of the line and what's happening and what's going where and how to problem solve what situation than just standing in line, because that drives me mad. Yeah. And it drove them mad too.
They were not expecting to be uncomfortable, probably for one moment.
And they shouldn't have, because the advertising didn't give them any indication of that.
No, it's a fucking disaster. And it certainly isn't that I don't have sympathy for those who are going and
paid so much money, paid months worth of rent.
And I guess I hate and I love how much people were mad at what other people were able to spend. So they're mad at you for having the money. And I think that's silly and unfortunate. And like no, you can be mad at them. Like, I don't know. You can be whatever you want. You can be mad at them for having money. And you don't have the money to go to Fyre Fest. And then they get burned by fire with a Y. And you now get to see them suffer. Fuck them. I can't afford that thing that they thought they were going to get that was going to be fucking incredible. And I'd give anything to be able to do that thing and see those artists. And God damn it. They wanted that. We all did. Yeah. They were sold the dream. They could afford the dream. They bought it. It wasn't real. It was a facade. Now we can laugh at them. That's unfortunate. That's why I don't direct it at them anymore. But I mean, it's a little bit funny. But I don't put it all on Billy. Like, we know that it takes a village to make this whole thing happen. It takes a city. It takes what it takes. And each event and each festival is going to be different as far as what personnel do you need. And you build it out, and it takes a certain amount of time, and it takes a certain amount of people. And I think when you and I watch something that is under-resourced with money, people, location, plumbing, it is a stressor that people might just look at on a personal level.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they were to attend Fyre Festival. But I think you and I and the people who are going to watch this who have participated in festivals, there's an appreciation and a level of understanding around how much it takes to accommodate one person.
Mm-hmm.
And then we just continue to multiply that. And when you start giving different tiers of experience, that's a whole nother level of how people are going to participate in this, that most people don't see all of the logistics. And I don't see them all anymore. I'm removed from it. But there was a point where it was absolutely true that I and the people around me were working as high-level hospitality specialists. And it was really to make the experience of our talent and our guests and our sponsors and our staff, everybody, to give them the best experience possible. This gave everyone the worst experience possible. Everybody. Not just the lowest of the low, which I think is fascinating because I've been there. I've been the one who's been in the pouring rain trying to save this, whether it's an event at a festival or whether it's an award show or whatever it is. You're in the shit, you're in the water, and you're plugging cables in. You're like, I'm going to die. They're going to call my mom. They're going to say...
He was electrocuted.
Yeah, he was electrocuted, but it was for a good cause. Now we have lighting to the stage. I had that running through my head. That's the lowest of the low. This was everyone experienced shit. and it was a disaster. And I feel bad for him.
I do. And a real dream of this series of Rap Notes would be to have a guest on the pod that worked the festival.
I love that.
Oh, such a dream to be able to talk to them and let them tell their side of things if they haven't already. Mm-hmm. It would be so much fun fun, but cathartic and fascinating to get to sit down with them and talk about the experience.
Exactly. I mean, when we recount a festival story, it's fun, but it's fun. It's air quotes fun. It's
type 2 fun or type 3 fun.
Yes, it's only fun because you lived through the pain, and that's like when we leave an experience like that has its elbows rubbing up next to Hollywood or the music industry and the elite. That's fun, and it makes for good stories. The reality of living that lifestyle and being in the down and dirty of what it is to be in showbiz, whether you're behind the scenes shooting a film, bloody hard work. Music videos, bloody hard work. Music festivals, hard fucking work. Film festivals, just complicated hard work. This is what the industry is. It's made of people who are down in the nitty gritty, and they're doing it and they're seeing it, and it's not glamorous. But they get a different perspective on this thing. And I don't think they would be complaining. And I don't think that that's what we're doing either. Because I don't want to complain about this.
No.
I am grateful for these experiences, and as I know you are. But it's something that we lived through, and it gives a perspective on what this is like and how these things come together, like a film festival, like a music festival. How they come together is from the blood, sweat, and tears of the people who are down on the lowest level. So I think what is unique about what we covered today with Fyre Festival, it brought everyone down to the shit. And it sucked for everybody.
Yeah.
And with that, I feel bad for all of them and none of them. I'm out. No. No, let's end it there. I think we did a good job wrapping up Fyre Fest. We're going to go through other film festivals and talk about what it was like to be in them, and then also look at them from an outside perspective and talk about what our perspective is, being people who have worked deep in the industry for quite a few years, and what our opinion and perspective is.
Absolutely. And would you like to get in that apology for the last episode? I believe we got a name wrong.
Oh,
it was...
Oh, yes.
Wood?
I said Rachel Wood, and I meant Natalie Wood. Sorry, everybody. Natalie Wood. That's the one who was murdered by Robert Evans. No, now I got his name wrong.
Oh, no. We'll get it right next time.
Robert Wagner. Sorry. Bob Evans, you're dead. You didn't murder anybody. Maybe you did. Who knows? Bob Wagner, we're coming after you. Natalie Wood. She's rolling in her grave. Jesus Christ.
Peace. Out.